Welcome back to the Nullified Tech channel on YouTube, where Michelle and I have got the takes for you on the Amazing Race 35 finale. That is right, we are back. I know it's been a while. We've got lovable Nikki straight here in the live, ready to go. I believe it's like 4 a.m. in the morning. Shows you the level of dedication that Nikki has for the Amazing Race. She was very excited about the finale. Kept telling me, you can't miss it. You have to talk about it. Make sure that Michelle is ready. Well, we've got Michelle on the show. I've managed to fit it into my schedule. The stars have aligned, and we're back, Michelle. We're back to talk about the Amazing Race.
We went through a tough few weeks. Like, I was busy last week, and you were so busy that you couldn't even fit it in anywhere else. And then you were sick. And you had a Christmas party, and it was just all this stuff just
I went away one weekend. It's like, it really was tough. And sometimes when you've got two people that have got busy schedules, those schedules don't always align. And sadly, it didn't work. It's not like some of the other shows on the channel. We've got backup for Survivor. Like, if one person can't make Survivor, lots of backup. But the Amazing Race, it's kind of you and me, Michelle, when it comes to the Nullified Tech channel. I know you covered The Amazing Race with some of our people on the podcast as well, but none of them have watched the Amazing Race US. They all just watched Australia this year. So they're not like you. They're not real super fans that watch every single iteration of the Amazing Race like you do.
It's tragic. It was a really good season, wasn't it?
It was solid. It was solid. I still, and I mean, we could start with this. And I just want to say hello to Sandy as well. Lovable Nikki's very happy to see us all back here. I just want to start with this. I'm not a fan of the longer episodes for The Amazing Race. I wasn't a fan this whole season. Still am not a fan of the longer episodes. I've said it a few times. I know, kill the messenger in regards to this. But for me, a longer episode on The Amazing Race doesn't necessarily mean better TV. It just means we see more of the same challenge over and over. And I know some people really love that. What I like in reality TV is a bit of strategy, a little bit of connivingness, needs to be a villain, needs to be a bit of spiciness happening. And we didn't have any of that. So from a great human being perspective, awesome season. Most people on this season were awesome. A lot of the people who had problems with each other went quite early. But when the daughter and dad, Stephen and Ali, when they went, there was no more drama for me at that point. Luckily, they stayed quite late in the season.
Yeah, they did. So I agree. There wasn't as much drama as the Aussie season this year. And a lot of people were actually, what's funny is the Americans are so different from us in that a lot of Americans loved that there wasn't any drama. There was a lot of comments saying, this is a great season. No one fought. No one was having fight. No one was mean. No one was this. No one was that. And I find you get a lot of those comments with American audiences than with Aussie audiences. Aussies want to see a bit of something happening.
I think you get them in America as well. Lovable Nikki, who's in the live, she watches the challenge. It's one of the reasons I like the challenge. There is always a little bit of drama thrown into the challenge, a little bit of strategy, a little bit of backstabbing. And when we don't see it, we kind of get bored. But, it's obviously a different show. I do think that there is still space for us to have big characters play The Amazing Race. I would like to see, in a future season of The Amazing Race, them going back to a format where they get maybe like a battle of the seasons, bring some really big characters from different shows. The Amazing Race, the challenge has done it successfully by getting people to come onto their show. Let's get another one like when we had the Survivor players playing, but hopefully this time not Rupert. Hopefully, someone that is actually going to be good on the show and actually is going to be competitive from Survivor.
Immediately when you say Rupert, I see that scene of him not being able to find where he's supposed to go, and then it's nighttime, and I can just see him walking around so clueless. It was just painful.
It was very difficult to watch. But let's get on to this season. The finale starts off. We've got Rob and Corey. They're going to take away here. They're going to go into this one on first, basically, as they start this leg. And they're finding out that they have to go to Seattle, Washington, all the way in the West Coast. As someone that has watched the show a lot more in depth than myself, I always say I've watched all of the seasons, but with The Amazing Race, I don't retain the knowledge. Like, it comes in and it goes. And I remember really big events and moments, but I can't tell you where they've been, where they haven't been. Surely they've been in Seattle before, and this is not the first time, right?
I'm pretty sure they haven't.
You reckon this was the first time?
Look, you're going to make me Google, aren't you?
Yeah, Google it. Google it. While you Google it, I
All
will
right,
continue
you
in
talk.
the dead air here. So yeah, love the fact that we go to Seattle. Love the fact that they go to the tower there. It's called the Space Needle from memory. What an awesome first sort of, I think, challenge for them to do. As they get there, they have to go on the tower and walk on it. And I tell you what, John, I was laughing so much seeing him walk on there because he was so stiff. He had like none of that normal.
I know.
Like, I mean, the guy's a performer. He does well in the dancing stuff. He does well in any kind of performance. But he was like very stiff being up there. Really fun to see them walk on there. Michelle, have you seen if they've been to Seattle? And after that, I've got a question.
No, I can't see it that they've been to Seattle at any other time. I really don't think they have. If someone
Probably not.
can search while you're watching now, I can't see. Nothing's coming up in my search. It keeps saying 35, 35 everywhere.
Right.
So if someone
Maybe
can
not.
prove me wrong, please try.
Yeah, fair enough. What did you think of this first specific challenge that they had to do, getting up on the tower? Because when they first said that they were going to do it, I thought it was going to be kind of like what we have in Auckland. We've also got a sky tower in Auckland, and you can walk underneath it, but it's like enclosed. Like when you're walking, you're out and you've got air, but there's barriers around you. I don't think they were going to physically be on top of the tower.
Well, I don't think this is a normal thing for normal people to do. So I think it was fun. I mean, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything's very safe for them. But yeah, you could see them just inching forward, like not wanting to take big steps or anything. Yeah, it's a bit scary, but I'm not afraid of heights. So I'd actually love it.
How much planning goes into doing something like this on the Amazing Race? Because you've got to look at the weather conditions. You've got to make sure there's no strong wind going to be on the day when you do this. Do you think they've got a backup plan if this fails and suddenly the weather changes and there's a lot of wind, for instance, or it's rainy, maybe it's not perfect conditions?
Yeah, there'd be a backup plan for something like that. Most things don't need a backup plan, but things like that, which are very dependent on the weather, certainly. I mean, once they were in the Alps and a blizzard started coming in, and I think they had to get them down. Yeah, but otherwise, they'd have something planned close by, or they'd have something still in the needle. Maybe it would be below them where all the other people were. Maybe they'd plant things in there. It'd probably still be in the same place.
Makes sense. Yeah, surely they would have had some sort of a plan in place if the weather did change. And I wonder if Seattle is a place where the weather is predictable, unlike where I live currently in Melbourne, where it can go from again, I can't do Fahrenheit the whole time. Everybody, sorry if you're in America. 32 degrees, which is probably somewhere in the 90s for Fahrenheit, can drop down to like by at least 20 degrees. It'd be like 15 or 16 degrees the next day. Like it's absolutely insane how it can go from one extreme to the other extreme here in Melbourne. And the weather can change on a dime in a day, and you can have like more than one season. So hopefully Seattle isn't one of those places. Auckland was very similar, so I'm kind of used to that type of weather. Don't want to make this show about the weather, but still love Melbourne weather way more than Auckland. Way more, because it's not as humid over here as it is over in Auckland, which I really appreciate. But
come up here for the humidity. Oh my God.
Yeah, I will be definitely at some stage. I'm gonna go up to Sydney. Maybe when Australian Survivor shows, like it'll be cool to go for like a viewing party or something like that.
Come when it's going to be premiering. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Sandy says IRC, this is not their first time having the final leg in Seattle.
Why, right. Sandy, it's not coming up on my search. Can you find out while you're watching? Because I can't find it.
Labai, welcome back to the live. It's always good to have you here. I haven't seen you in a while, probably because we haven't been on in a while to talk about the Amazing Race, but we're back now and we are talking about it. Coming into this leg, we kind of skipped over it, but we've got the three teams coming into it. Was this the three teams you really badly wanted to see run the final? Or did you feel like one of the other teams maybe missed out a little bit coming into the final?
Did you forget how I loved Joel and Garrett? I used to say the beards. I love the beards.
When you told me you were excited for this and you're like, Chris, you got to watch it. This is the best final ever. I was like, Joel and Garrett's winning this. They have to have won it because Michelle loves them so much. So, like, I thought you spoiled it for me.
Yeah, so I always wanted them in the final. And then as the race went on, the dad and the son, Corey and Rob, they really, got into my heart. So I really wanted them. otherwise, I didn't care if anyone else got there or not because they're all pretty likable teams. But I really wanted those two teams in the final.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this race and finishing this leg of the race, you obviously we're skipping ahead a little bit, but we will talk about this. Greg and John, they had the best average overall this season, an average finish of 2.75. Robin Corey's second best average finish for the season at 3.17. Then Jill and Garrett at 4.33. Two teams that dropped out before them both had better average finishes, even though they didn't make the final. And that was Steve and Annalie at 4.09, and then Todd and Ashley at 4.20. So they would have been the fifth best overall for average finishes. So when they came into this leg and they said that they were the underdog coming into this leg, they were genuinely the underdog. Like no one, I don't think, like I know you liked them, but in your heart of hearts, Michelle, did you think that they were going to make it into this final leg?
Good question. Good question. I thought they could have gone out at fourth and Annalie would have made it to the top three. Yeah, I probably did think that could happen.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great.
They've been moving around in that, leaderboard. They've been moving around. It hasn't really been too consistent with a lot of the teams,
No, you're definitely right on that. There was a lot of movement this season, which made it exciting, except for Greg and John, who absolutely dominated this season, really, if you look at the results overall. But they obviously have the arrival here in Washington. They have the Space Needle Challenge that they do. They're up there. Robin Corey does not let go of that lead up until this point. They're out of there first, and then they've got to go down to find a specific person with the Amazing Race colors and then go into the Garden of Glass center where they get their next clue, and they find out that the final is going to have a scramble in it. Did you like this? Did you like the fact that they threw a scramble at the contestants last minute?
I do like that. I do. At first, because the light was really strange, I didn't know if it was morning or evening, sunrise or sunset. And I thought, gosh, if it's sunrise, peak hour, or even sunset, do you want to be going to the task that's furthest away? If there's a lot of traffic, do you want to get that over and done first? Like I was trying to gauge what the time was as to which task would be good to go to first and which one last. But yeah, someone said, sunset something. I think it was one of the brothers said sunset.
It was Corey.
And so I thought, hang
Corey,
on.
not the brother, the son.
Was it
Robin Corey. He said something about a sunset scramble or something like that. And that was the title of the episode as well. Sandy's come through with the tea here. He has done some homework. He says in season 3, they have their final leg split between Hawaii and Seattle, with the finish line in Seattle. So that's going back. That's going back.
But no, I actually rewatched that season. What was it? End of last year? I actually watched the season again. So I'm surprised I've totally forgotten about it.
Is that the one where they have that mad run at the end and the teams are like, basically number 1 and 2 is running to the finish line at the same time? Is that the one? Because I remember there was
no, that's not that one.
Right.
I know what one you're talking about.
Yeah, and then one team overtakes the team that's first and actually wins. Like that's probably one of the best finishes we've ever seen. That was an early season.
That's sad. They were running up a hill.
Yeah, I remember that. I loved it. Can we have that again? Bring those runs back in the final. I missed the run, like where they do the puzzle, and then as soon as they've done it, they have to run to the final. It's all about endurance and stamina to get there. I think it would have been
good
crazy.
For me.
Yeah, it would have also not been good for Steve if he made a final like that. He would have been red in the face with Annalie telling him to keep up the pace. Hats off to Steve, the real MVP of this season, the real MVP.
Seriously, the amount of people talking about Steve this season, I had enough. And Annalie on the fan group, I actually said, that's it. Not having any more Annalie bashing posts. You can talk about Annalie somewhere else, but I'm not starting off a post where you're having a go at her. And majority of people were happy with that. There was only a few that were like,
not needed. But some people need something to vent about. They've got a lot going on at home. They've got a lot going on at home. They need to get that out. That's the system.
Yeah, they can vent anywhere they like as long as they don't make an entire post about Annalie. Like seriously.
Yeah.
And Steve, who's going to die from a heart attack.
Okay, season 2. I thought so, Labai. Like
season 2, I
I
thought it
knew,
was 2, Labai. I
yeah, I
thought it
knew
was
it
2
wasn't
or
early.
4.
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
knew
gonna
it was like
say
in the
2.
first 5 seasons. I knew it was in the first 5
Yeah.
seasons. Yeah, that was amazing. It was an amazing finish. But they get obviously the scramble. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss the roadblock. I do miss that there
Really?
wasn't. Yeah, I do miss that they didn't have 2 roadblocks where both individuals still,
Had
because
to
I like the
do.
tension. I like the tension that brings to a final where you're like, oh no, I'm having to do this roadblock to get us past this point, and I'm going to be the reason that we fail, or I'm going to be the reason that we lose. I really miss that tension that you get from that, where with the scramble, they can work as a team throughout all 3 of these challenges, which means that it just comes down to teamwork. If you've got one person who's slightly weaker in a specific thing, the other person can make up for it. So for me, personally miss it, but it does bring obviously a different challenge to the final here. I like the shock factor that none of the people who were racing expected the scramble to be so late in the season. And then also the fact that they had to think about it. 2 of it is very close in the CBD with one that is further out. And there were different strategies being used here, which I thought would be the deciding factor there. And I thought the fact that you had 2 of them go to the closest one and then one person going to the furthest one. I really thought that would have a significant sort of outcome in regards to, when, like in my mind, I was thinking, when's the traffic going to be worse? Like, do you want to go into the city in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Because you're late getting out of that one, or do you want to go in? Like, I thought that maybe one of them were going to get stuck, and I thought it would be Rob and Corey in this situation, going in a different direction. And I was like hyper focused on Garrett and Jewel because you like the finale so much. So I really thought, even with them doing really well in this first one, that they had a good time out there. Did you think that was going to play in sort of into where people were going to sort of be, like with the CBD traffic going in and out, where the next challenge is going to be?
Yeah, like first of all, I loved that the scramble had something creative, something that was physical, and something that was really
attention to detail,
and that everything had to be perfect. So I think it was really good that those challenges were so different. The Sydney races I've always done the furthest thing first, which is just like a giant scramble, because you don't have a set order. You can do whatever you like in whatever order. But we always used to do the furthest one first, away from the finish line, where we knew the finish line was, so we knew we were closer for near the end. Because if you're tired, then you don't have far to go. So I was glad when, someone went furthest away, because that's what I would have done. But as I said, yes, what's the traffic doing? What time of day is it? You've always got to take that into account as well.
Plus, you don't know where the next challenge is going to be. So it really is taking a stab at and hoping for the best. You're kind of spinning the roulette wheel on this one and hoping that it lands on black, and you've got all your chips on it. So it was a bit of a gamble, but obviously we've got 3 different challenges here. Like you said, really, really good, because it does challenge them on, like you said there, the physical, the athletic ability. It challenges them a little bit on attention to detail. And then the one that I think we'll talk about first was glass. That one there was the one that Greg and John went to. They got there first, and then Joel and Garrett also got there. And I was so ready to come onto this podcast and say one team blew it this challenge, but they ended up making up for it later on. Greg and John really having a tough time on this glass challenge. What did you think of this?
I think you just had to have the temperature of the glass just right to be able to blow it. So I think it was really hard, because when Corey was blowing it, nothing was happening at all. And I'm thinking, and they're all very confused. And I'm pretty sure it had to be the temperature of the glass. Like when you try and blow bubbles with, bubble gum, you can't blow it until you've got the right kind of thing happening for it actually to work. So, yeah. And of course, the experts make it look so easy, and they're just spinning and blowing, and it's just working. And yeah, it must be really hard, especially with the heat. It would have been quite hot in there, I think, too.
Yeah, I think that's what Greg and John said. And up until that point, I think for us as audience members, it's actually hard to relate to what it must feel like being in there. And as long as Greg and John was in there, You probably end up losing a lot of hydration just by the fact of sweat while you're in there. Not an easy thing to do, and it looked very intricate. There was a technique to it and how they did it. But Jill and Garrett somehow figured it out pretty quickly compared to Greg and John, who struggled there for quite a while. This is a challenge that I feel like it could go either way, and just practice makes perfect. And the more you do, you probably get better and better at it, even though Greg and John, they failed more at this than anybody else. I think they had about 4 failed attempts. More than that, obviously, in trying to actually get to the point where they could, actually get a judge, but 4 of them were too small to pass. We didn't really see how many of Jill and Garrett's didn't pass. It felt like the first one that they actually got there was actually correct, and they got out of there pretty quickly. And then, like you said, Rob and Corey obviously having a really, really tough time at it as well. Glenda, welcome to the live. Glenda says it also seemed like the hardest was the glass blowing. I think that it's the most tricky one out of all of them in my mind.
Well, just think you had to turn it while blowing, and I don't know.
So that it doesn't bend.
I think they're all tricky in their own way. If you
100%.
aren't attention to detail sort of person, you're going to miss where those chords are. Like you saw the brothers, they missed where the chord was. They missed that to turning that over. I think depends what
that was
you're
insane
good
to
at.
me.
Yeah.
That was insane to me. But before we go into the attention to detail challenge, let's talk a little bit about the one that required a bit of athletic skill, a bit of acrobatics, a bit of trapeze sort of happening there. And we obviously had Rob and Corey go there first. For those that don't know, we've got Michelle in her free time practicing as well for the next Amazing Race. She's practicing for 37, and I'll share this here with our audience so they can see. That is Michelle there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Michelle, what's happening here? Talk us through this. Are you getting ready for 37?
I don't know. I sent you a video, but it's only the photo. So I don't know. This is on a holiday, and every time I'm on this holiday, I do trapeze. And it is really hard. So here I was about to do what they did on the show, what Corey did more than anybody else, because he put his feet between his hands. So that's harder than what the others did, which is put their feet on the either side of their hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't get your feet up on that first upswing, you're just done for. You can't be caught. And it's hard. Like the first time you do that, because when you do that downswing and your whole body is pulled down, and I don't have upper arm strength. I'm like shocking. So that first time you ever do it, it's like, oh my God, I'm just going to drop.
It's all technique, the way it looked like. I'm no expert. I'm no Michelle in this scenario. I haven't been out there practicing my skill, but it looked to me what happened is as you swing to the one end, you actually use the momentum of the basically it coming back to kick your feet over. 100%. So you actually go and using gravity to get your legs up on the pole, and then you go out. But it's easier said than done, because I feel like a few of them knew it. I knew coming into this, looking at this, I was like, Corey's going to kill it, which he did. His dad, Rob, is going to struggle because it must require some really good core strength as well. And he just doesn't look like he's strong like that.
And also it's a problem if you've got a stomach. You can't bend. You can't get your feet up between your hands. Yeah. So what they did then, the instructors took them back down and told them to put their legs, where's my hand, on the side of their hands. So it's actually easier for them to put their legs up this way than it is to try and put them up this way. So that's when they all did it the easier way. I think Greg and John should have done it the middle way, to be honest, because they're not tackling a big stomach or anything. But
listen, John was all over it. John got it in the first attempt, similar to I believe Corey. Greg struggled a little bit with it. I think he maybe got it on the second attempt there. But both of the boys, when they got there, I knew they were going to be very good at it because they're quite athletic. The most happy I was probably, and also I think Garrett may have also gotten it very quickly as well. Or Jewel, was it Jewel? Jewel got it before Garrett, actually, which is surprising because Jewel's the one with the long beard, not the moustache. Yeah. He's the one who actually got it and looked like he was a little bit more stocky compared to Garrett, but he just did it. And I had to remind myself that both of them were in the army before, so they obviously are used to like physical exercise and things like that. They may have a bit of a dad bod now, or they're a bit older, but they still have that natural athleticism built in within them, right, in their core.
And you don't have to be really fit. You've just got to be fast and be able to just do it quickly, exactly when you need to do it. Otherwise, you can't get caught on the second swing because you're not high enough. So you have.
Where did you do that trapeze challenge?
I did that on a holiday called Club Med. Club Med always have a trapeze at all their resorts. So
wow, yeah, I feel like I need to go to Club Med now because I want to try it out. Like I'm really interested. I've never done that before, but I reckon I feel confident.
But there's trapeze places in Melbourne and Sydney. You could go and do it there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it out.
Yeah, it's fun. I first did it because this was years and years ago. I first did it because my husband said to me, "You're too old to do that,"
and you're like, "I'm going to show you."
Rightio. I'm not too old to do anything, mister.
Yeah. Don't challenge Michelle, everybody. Don't challenge Michelle. She will prove you wrong. Yeah. Let's say hello to Kiwi Skid in the live here as well, saying, just realized I didn't say hi, but I've been listening for a while with the pink hand wave emoji. Kiwi, always good to have you here. Cashwash, welcome. 3 a.m. in the morning. It's very early. We're very happy to have you here. Cashwash is a frequent listener of the channel, also listens to a lot of our challenge content here on the channel. And then Glenda saying, where I live, we have a trapeze place and I've been wanting to try it. I reckon you should.
Go try it.
I feel like the half the battle here, like Glenda and Michelle, I feel like what it is that, you know, a lot of the times we feel like we can't do something, but you want to conquer that mountain. You want to prove to yourself that, no, I can learn a new skill. I can do this thing. So why not do it? I felt so happy for Rob when he finally achieved it because that little kid in him, like he said, I felt like a kid back on the playground, on the jungle gym, like the kid in him. You could see his face light up like he was like back on the playground. He felt young again by being able to do that, which was so cool.
It's something bizarre that people our age don't generally do unless we are in the circus. So it's really nice to try something different. And if you can do it, it's like amazing. There was a woman one year when I went and she was 70 and she was doing it. She was being caught. She was doing it all.
That's amazing.
I mean, it's not that hard if you have enough, not want or need or, you know,
power and a drive.
Yeah. If you just want to try something and just give it a go, just go and give it a go. Like, don't say I'm too old to do this or I can't do this. You know,
I agree. Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun. You should go do that, Glenda, if there is something there. I'm going to try and go look for something here in Melbourne as well because I love things like that. And I'm currently getting myself ready. This is one of the times you will definitely see me around Sydney is I will be doing the Spartan race in Picton. That would be my first Spartan race back since 2019 that I'm going to be doing, which I'm really happy after a couple of years of injury, COVID happening, obviously, and a lot of things closing down and getting back into the rhythm. My first obstacle course race is going to be probably around March, April next year, and it'll be in Picton. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm going to go and do another one, an obstacle course, not as bad as Spartan, not as crazy. It's a drop down from that up in March, up on the Central Coast here. So I haven't done it in years. And some of the challenges I can't do. Some of them are just too high. You need a whole team of people to get you up over things. So I just walk around. That's new.
I just wanted to say, hi, Fadil Baker. Yes, welcome back. Normally, I know Fadil follows us and retweets a lot of our content on Twitter. Normally, you can't see Twitter comments on StreamYard, even when I post these things live on Twitter. And it looks like now we can see Twitter is letting us know when someone joins via Twitter. So hopefully, Fadil, if you're still there, comment something so we can see if we can see comments. Oh, there we go, Fadil. We can finally see Twitter comments. I am so excited about this. Welcome to all of our Twitter listeners. We also get a lot of Twitter listeners weekly. If you don't follow us yet, it is TNT_take for, I believe, the Twitter for the Nullified Take. And I am probably it's probably a little bit too difficult to actually spell my whole name. But actually, let me just put it into here.
You're
So
not-
it should be that for my personal one, which we're streaming on my personal one tonight, not the Nullified Take one on Twitter. So if you want to join that as well, that should be the handle for it, I believe. But that's really exciting that we finally get comments coming through. Normally blocks me from commenting. I know, so annoying.
I wonder why.
We've tried it before. Yeah, so well done StreamYard for improving the streaming services. But let's talk a little bit about the third one here in the scramble, the Grunge Challenge.
Yes.
Garrett and Jewel lost their honorary Weezer supporter license this specific episode because they didn't do well enough and putting the gear together. I found it really funny that a lot of teams, Michelle, was saying, I'm not musically inclined. I'm like, this has got nothing. Like, we're not asking you to play music. This is just common sense, like, you know, plugging things in. Like, I'm really good with tech. So I feel like for me, we would have zoned through this challenge. I was shocked like that they couldn't see the power cable inside of the box, the base box that they had. They couldn't see the amp.
It was quite dark in there, and the boxes are black inside. The cords are black, so I gave them a little bit of leeway in that they could see, and they're at the back of the stage where there may not have been as many lights.
Right. It's possible. It's possible, but I feel like you still
you're not giving them anything.
No, you're still moving your hands in there, looking for things. You know, you're feeling what's this cable feeling thing in here? Maybe it shouldn't be loose in here. We should take that out. And I mean, John and Greg, I thought they were going to lose the finale just because of the fact that they picked up that lid so many times and they many times just couldn't see it. Like, did they not feel like the lid was like extra heavy? Like it's heavier than something that doesn't have anything attached to it in the bottom.
Exactly.
Like, and they're not a dumb team. They're a very smart team. They were the best team this season. And yet this is the thing that almost tripped them over in the end.
I love how the camera kept focusing on them doing it, like time and time again. They must have been watching it at the finale party yesterday and just going, what? It's right there. They had a massive party.
Yeah, Fadil here says, my winner pick from the final three did not win, but the cast was outstanding this season. Let us know who your winner pick was. Michelle's, I don't think it was Michelle's winner pick, but Michelle's favorite team was Jill and Garrett, and they didn't win in the end. I think Rob and Corey, you thought they were going to win, right, Michelle, from a couple of weeks ago?
Well,
I actually thought they were going to win as well. Fadil said, I've set up sound equipment before. It's a bit tricky. Yeah, fair enough. But I feel like certain plugs and cables can only go in one way. You look at it and you look at what you're plugging it into, and it's only going to go in one way. I don't know. But, you know, it seemed to be the attention to detail one was the one that definitely tripped a lot of people up. Garrett and Joel, they were 120 seconds behind Team 1 in the end. Do you feel like them dancing and celebrating with the performers after they got there, instead of actually racing, played into that 120 seconds? Because that could have been the difference.
Yes, definitely could have. I saw them because no one else danced around as much as they did, but they did go on
panicked for them.
Have fun and have an experience. And I was sitting there looking at them going, stop. I know it's fun, but go. Please go. Yeah.
I was very, very nervous for them. Fadil also says here that Rob and Corey was my pick to win. So definitely, I think a lot of people had their money on Rob and Corey. But going out of the grunge here, we have first, obviously, Jill and Garrett leaving, and then Rob and Corey following, not helping the boys, which definitely was a very strategic and smart move on their behalf. Definitely shouldn't be helping people in the final. I was surprised that the boys still helped Rob and Corey with the power cable, saying, oh no, you need the power cables. Like in a finale, they're still that friendly that they're helping. So actually the best team won, not just because they were the best team, you know, in the race when it came to finishing, but they were also the best human beings out there because they were still helping their competitors in the final.
Exactly.
The final for $1 million, and they still found it in their heart.
I know. They shouldn't, but anyway.
Yeah, but I'm happy for them. They won. The rest is history. They get out of there last. We spoke a little bit about the glass and how Rob and Corey struggled there. We spoke a little bit about the trapeze and how that went. But they do have to race. Now they've got this plane together with an address on it, and they have to race to the final challenge, which is a memory challenge. And in my mind, Michelle, when Jill and Garrett got there in first place, because you told me that this was such a great finale, I'm like, Jill and Garrett's going to win this thing. They're going to win it. They went back to get the book after they forgot the book and the challenge with
I
all of
know.
their memory things written in it. This is the point where
Yeah.
that edit is finally going to make sense. Why we saw them returning to get the book, and they said, we're going to need this in the finale. It's going to make sense because they're going to pull that notebook out and they're going to go on that notebook. This is what we need to do. And yet no notebook appeared, Michelle, at
Yeah, I
this
know.
challenge. We did not see it. Was it a bit of a letdown?
I think everyone was pretty good at putting them in order, though. I would have had a notebook out, but everyone was very good at remembering this goes here, this goes there. I think the hardest part about that challenge was all the damn kayaks. I'm sorry. So taxing to try and figure everything out and then have to move them all. And especially, I don't know if Annalie would have been in the finale. Would she have been able to reach the top rung, or would her dad have had to put all the top ones up?
Probably a dad, I would say.
It was like 3. I didn't think she'd be able to have done the top ones.
No, I think her dad would probably have had to have done the top one in that case. And, you know, you can give a lot of crap to her dad, but her dad kept up. Like, he still did it. I thought so many times he was going to pass out this race. He never passed out. He kept going. So for somebody of his age, running like he did and keeping up with the younger people, really, really well done. Really well done. Yeah. You know, you've got to give credit where credit is due. And I was impressed that he got through that dancing challenge as well in the previous one. In Ireland, I would have thought that would have been tough. But obviously, Jill and Garrett, they do get there first. They're the ones that have the lead here, and they mess it up by getting just the 2 wrong. The one was where they had to walk on the tightrope. The other one was where they were in a plane. And the phrasing, they get that mixed up. And that is the thing that holds them back. And it took them ages, Michelle, to figure this out.
They could have won. So frustrating. But yeah, there were very similar ways to describe sort of an aerial sort of challenge. So I don't fault them too much because it was very similar. If they'd done something totally stupid and it was a different day, different, you know, country altogether in that, you know, they couldn't possibly confuse those things, I would have been harder on them. But I'm not really that hard on them. I was just, you know, so disappointed.
Yeah, very, very disappointed to see them not being able to pull it out here in the end. But very impressive from John and Greg to get there in the end. So many times this episode, I thought they were going to be left in the dust. They were going to be behind. They struggled through those 3 challenges just for John's amazing memory to come into play here. And he gets all of them right in one hit, pretty much. Yeah. John becoming the real MVP for that team here. And they get to go out of there before both Jill and Garrett. And Jill and Garrett, hot on their heels, finally figuring out the mistake. And 120 seconds separating these 2 teams. Which Ridiculous. Is an insane finish.
Yeah. I mean, Rob and Corey got actually lost getting to the final challenge. I think they got lost then, or was it going to the pit stop?
I think it was going to the final challenge. They got lost. Yeah.
Yeah, which is sad because they might have had a chance. You know, Corey's quite fast, but yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely sad to see them go out in the way that they did, but ultimately, I am very happy for Greg and John because, like we said, they did have probably the best. You know, not probably, they ultimately had the best finish out of all of the teams with 4 first place finishes coming into the final. Jill and Garrett had 1, Rob and Corey had 1 first place finish. So I always feel like when a team who's dominated a season like that does win it in the end, it's kind of feels justified, even though it would have been great to see an underdog win. My hot take on Rob and Corey is that Corey said at the end of this that it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. My hot take is that it's going to be a twice-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Rob and Corey. Like, if there's one team from this whole season that is making its way back for an all-star season, it is definitely Rob and Corey. Definitely. Their personalities are just too magnetic. Not to have them back on a season. They really did carry the season, I think, from a personality standpoint.
Yeah, they were lovely. Such lovely people. Mind you, Joel and Garrett could also get us back. Mind you, Annalie would maybe get us back.
I want a winners at war. And if they do a winners at war, Greg and John definitely deserves to come back because I do agree with Glenda here. Greg and John dominated this season. Glenda also says, I did love the Beards and the father and son. Such a great final 3. All very likable people in the final 3. So, but my suspicion is that if there's one team that they bring back, Robin Corey is at the top of that list. I think Todd
Yes.
and Ashley is probably second, most likely, on that list because they had a lot of moments with them as well. Some of the reason The Amazing Race really likes the competitive couple. The one that's competitive and the one that's not as competitive as the one that's competitive. So that's the thing that they could pull on. Steve and Annalie had their moments. I just don't know if The Amazing Race is in another 5 years if Steve will come back. Maybe Annalie with a partner.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I think a great finish here for Greg and John. I know that in America, it is always a big deal when someone wins that are of the African American community, obviously because of representation and things like that.
Yes.
So seeing Greg and John win, what a great moment for CBS, who's been trying to be more diverse and include more people into their seasons. How many African American winners have we had? Yeah, we had Joyce. We had Joyce and is it Uchia, the first winners way back, the one who shaved her hair.
Uchenna and Joyce.
Yes, the one who shaved her hair. So I'm wondering how many. So you don't know how many we've had, do you?
Off the top of my head.
Not off the top of your head. Someone maybe will know.
Well, look, if Logan was here, he'd probably be able to tell you.
Yeah. But a great result for them. I love the relationship between the brothers as well, Greg and John, like very supportive throughout the season, really worked well together. Like they say, the rest is history. They would be a very, very competitive team if they were to come back and participate in a Winners at War. Do you think we'll ever see a Winners at War on The Amazing Race?
Well, there would only be winners teams. I think they need to bring back teams like Justin and Diana, obviously, who were asked the first time, but Diana was pregnant. They really need to have an unfinished business too. They need, a lot of people suggested they have, second places or people who are in the top 5 places, back. Also, on the flip side, people always ask for the people who went out first, for that to be a whole season. But I think that would be incredibly boring to have first out back in. So I think they should have another one. I mean, they hear it all the time in the fan group. They see it all the time because we're always talking about it. Hopefully, they do it one time. I mean, they're casting now, so they're obviously not doing it for the next season. And they already have a season which they haven't even aired yet. So I don't know what they're doing next year unless they're going to play 2 seasons in 1 year.
Well, I'm just going to call it, if they ever have a first out Amazing Race season, then Michael and Mo will become the first team to be out first 3 times in a row when they return to the game. So I just feel like that team just wouldn't be able to get past the first leg. And I would be there just from can you imagine the trauma of all of these people being there and being like, we went out last time first. We can't be the ones to go first this time. And I'm actually there, Michelle, for a hot mess season. I think there could be a lot of fun in a hot mess season. People stumbling their ass backwards through the game until the end and actually winning it. I would love it. I need that type of drama in my life, Michelle. I need it.
If they're so bad at it, can you imagine Phil waiting hours at the mat for them to come in and finally get there?
I can. It would be amazing. It would be amazing, amazing TV. We don't need perfect people. People are flawed, Michelle. Give us all of the flaws. Give us all of the flaws. That's what I'm trying to say. Glenda here agrees. She said, I would love a first boot season or an unfinished business season. The buyer says 4 more seasons before The Amazing Race. 40 may be Winners at War. Could be a really good season. 5 more seasons before The Amazing Race 40. And also, let's not forget, they don't need to get 20 individual winners. They need to get 12 or 13 winning teams out of, hopefully then, 39 seasons. We've never had a back-to-back winner. We need a 2-time Amazing Race champion team. We need that. The fans deserve it, Michelle.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Here
we go. Yeah.
So quite a few.
Labai, you did your homework.
Yeah. Thank you, Labai. Thank you.
Thank you
for that. Glenda laughing at the prospect of people stumbling their ass backwards through a season. Kiwi saying, totally agree on a first out season or a second and third places too. So even even maybe like a proper second chance, or a true unfinished business, because teams have made it to a final but they've never won. That would be a lot of fun to watch. But I feel that's a wrap on this season. You said we've got one season in the can. There's rumors we may see that season as soon as March next year. I've heard rumors about that we may get 2 seasons this coming year for the Amazing Race. So that would be very interesting and exciting.
That would be so good. It'd be like the old days.
Yep. So there's also rumors that the show, well, actually, this is not a rumor. They've said that the show will remain at 90 minutes. So potentially this whole thing about flipping 36 and 35 won't actually matter, because they're going to have to give us 35 lengthened in that case if it's a early season next year. So obviously all good news for the Amazing Race. I don't know if we've had season 37 confirmed as of yet, but producers, if you're listening, Michelle is ready.
They're casting
now, right?
Yeah.
Michelle's ready. She's training. She's training like I showed you earlier. She is. She was born ready for this thing. If you throw it to piece away,
if there was a chance, jeez, to get in, I'd be doing something.
Yeah, they need to snatch you up. They need to snatch you up for sure, for either Australia or for the US in the future seasons. But for this season, it's a wrap. I'm so glad we got together to talk about the finale, talk about the season as a whole. I had a lot of fun, even though the season was hard to cover at times. I'm glad we could put a bow tie on this and wrap it up properly at the end of the season. I hope everybody enjoyed our coverage. If you did like the coverage here of the Amazing Race, we cover a lot of other shows on the channel. We talk about Survivor US, we talk about Survivor UK, The Challenge. We've got Traitors for so many different countries. Traitors US starting very soon with some legendary players from a lot of different franchises.
God. How good!
It's going to be exciting.
Parvati,
Sandra. For people who watch Big Brother, Dan Giesling, Janelle, who also did The Amazing Race a couple of seasons ago, also a legend in Big Brother. So some legends coming from there. Then we've got Challenge legends and Bananas and CT being on the same season. There's so many big players. It honestly is. It is a true all-star season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So a lot of shows are being covered here on the channel. If you like reality TV, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, hit a like on this so you can be notified the next time that we do go live. Kiwi Skirt, always fun. Thank you so much for jumping in. I will see you when we cover, hopefully, Survivor US this weekend as well. But for now, goodbye, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody in the live. Chat to you next time. Bye.
Bye.